Hey guys, it's Daniel. Welcome back.
The following is a quote from Kurt Cobain from November 10th of 1991, where he discusses Ozzy Osbourne. This quote is from an interview he did with a magazine in Germany called Freak Show, with Gilbert Blecken. Quote, I can understand Ozzy liking us, as we have a few things in common, at least with his former band. I respect the man, and I like his music too, apart from his last few albums. Incidentally, Ozzy mixed his new LP in the same studio we did. We didn't have the opportunity to talk to each other, but we did sometimes see him in the corridor. He was always staggering so much that I had to press myself up against the wall each time or he wouldn't have been able to get by. The guy is pretty messed up. He also asked us to go on tour with him, but we didn't want to. Although it might have been exciting and kind of funny to have been there at his last few shows, playing as a support act in such big arenas would definitely have not been right for us. End quote. In Ozzy Osbourne's biography, I Am Ozzy, released in 2009, he mentioned the following about Kurt Cobain and Smells Like Teen Spirit. Quote, It had a huge impact on me, Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I was very proud when I found out that Kurt Cobain was a fan of mine. I thought he was awesome. In 2007, Dave Grohl said the following about Kurt Cobain in an interview with Mojo magazine. Quote, Kurt really liked Ozzy. Growing up in a town like Aberdeen and hearing a band like Black Sabbath, it's a sweet release. Suddenly, there's something outside your small town world you can relate to, when you can hear that alienation in someone else's music. The first Nirvana record, Bleach, which I don't play on but I love, you listen to some of those songs and it's a guitar line, a bass line, a vocal, and thundering drums. There's a lot of Black Sabbath in that for sure. End quote. Now I should mention that the original Kurt Cobain quote I read about him discussing Ozzy, there is a version of that quote I found online which is slightly different, which is a bit odd because you'd expect a quote to be consistent regardless of where you find it. The version I read is from a print source. I'm going to read to you now the version I came across online. Quote, I can understand Ozzy liking us because we have at least some similarities with his former band. Sure, I respect the man. I have always loved his music, except for his last 5 albums or whatever. I didn't pay attention to most of his solo stuff besides Bark at the Moon, whenever that was. Ozzy was also in the same mixing studio that we were in for our last record, and we met each other in the hall sometimes. We didn't speak, but there were a few times where we were coming towards each other and I had to move up against the wall and wait for him to stumble past me, because he was so effed up. He also asked us to go on tour with him, but we turned it down. It would have been fun and kind of exciting to be part of his last shows, but we don't really want to play in huge arenas supporting someone. End quote. Now, Kurt Cobain isn't the only grunge legend Ozzy Osbourne has a connection to. He also has a connection with Layne Staley. As a matter of fact, there's a funny story behind that. At one point in 1992, Layne Staley broke his left foot after an ATV accident backstage at a show in Oklahoma City. And interestingly, Ozzy Osbourne was there to see it. That year, Alice in Chains went on tour with Ozzy as an opening act on Ozzy's No More Tours tour. They toured with Ozzy from various points between August to November of '92, so this incident had to have taken place at some point in that window. Despite his broken foot, however, Layne Staley didn't cancel their shows. Instead, he chose to perform in a wheelchair. In an interview from February of 1993, Layne Staley spoke about the accident which broke his foot. Quote, I was riding a 3-wheel ATV bike, and a production manager on the tour saw me riding out his window and radioed to the crew members, some of the crew, to stop me. So, they were all waving their arms in front of me and I was going full speed. No brakes. And I turned and was either going to run into a truck and break my neck or try and jump off. Basically, the ATV ran over my foot. Before I broke my foot, I never moved from the center of the stage as a performer. Once I broke it, I felt I was disabled. So I think it was actually a good thing because it got me working harder and now I could actually move a foot in each direction. End quote. Now, interestingly, in 1992, Mike Inez was not yet the bassist in Alice in Chains, but he was present for Layne's ATV accident because at the time, he was Ozzy's bassist, and Alice in Chains was on tour with Ozzy. According to Mike, Ozzy Osbourne thought Layne Staley breaking his foot was hilarious. Quote, Ozzy was watching from his dressing room window. He said it was one of the funniest things he'd seen in his life. This guy breaking his foot. It was hilarious. End quote. In a 2016 interview with Dean Del Rey on the podcast Let There Be Talk, Jerry Cantrell shared his recollection on what happened. Interesting little detail. Jerry recalls that Layne was riding a 4-wheel ATV. Whereas Layne himself, as mentioned earlier, recalled that he was riding a 3-wheel ATV. Unless some sort of photographs, video, or other tangible proof is available somewhere regarding the accident, it's impossible to know for sure who's correct. But in any case, here's what Jerry had to say. Quote, "He wrecked on the 4-wheeler behind the stage. You know, what's really funny about that is he didn't miss a show at all. He played with a broken foot that night on crutches, just kind of singing into the mic. He went and had surgery the next day, put a couple of pins in his foot, pretty much the same break that Axl Rose had at the beginning of the GNR tour. You've got to roll with it and make it work. Layne did. And he had that sort of creepy, dark, insect sort of vibe anyways, so we put him in a wheelchair and brought all this dressing room furniture. We put a little living room out there so we had places to go, sit on the couch, and sing. He played it up and went with it. That's another thing. When we got to do those shows with Guns N' Roses in 2016, when Axl fell out the Troubadour and broke his foot, pretty much the same break as Layne, and the guy, he dealt with it. What do? Dave Grohl comes in with a throne that he had to ride when he broke his foot, and he did it. In a weird way, I've never heard him sing better. All you can do is sit there and focus and sing, and it's not that the guy is a wild or bad singer anyways. He's one of the best and most consistent I've ever heard. But I remember talking to Duff and Slash about that. The same thing happened to us with Layne." End quote. Now, I want to show you guys a clip from my interview with recording engineer Dana Nielsen, who's worked with Ozzy Osbourne. If you want to see the full interview, the link is available in the description box below. All the interviews on my channel are arranged by myself. If you want to support, the best way to do so is to subscribe, like, and share.
What was it like working with Ozzy on his vocals? How does he approach recording vocals?
Normally, like for rock vocal or something like that, we're doing like long sections at a time, maybe full passes of a song, and then maybe comping from these full passes to find the best little nuggets. But he likes to double, like he's got that effect, that is signature. Part of that process is grabbing these doubles like right away, so it was kind of like building the doubles immediately, which was neat. Getting a chance to record Ozzy was crazy. And like crazy in a like, wow, this is wild. I love it.
Was he all there? Was he like coherent?
Yes.
Okay.
There's like it's easy to think, because like his speech and his accent and stuff, and you kind of wonder the same thing, but he's cracking jokes and stuff like that, and you're like, oh yeah, I see what's going on. You know what's up. Sharp as a tack, that guy.
So were there any particular mics you guys preferred using with Ozzy? Was there anything in specific that you remember?
I don't remember, but I kind of remember that he was in the control room right next to me, and usually that's a dynamic mic, like oftentimes an SM7, sure, or 58 or something like that. If it's in the control room, it's usually an SM7B. We did them in the control room, so it was like just Rick and Ozzy on the couch, and just a few feet away, and working at the console, quickly putting together these doubles. It's a fast way to work that you can really hear a sort of finished sounding result pretty quickly by stacking things up as you go. That's like seems to be his process,
That's cool.
Kind of, which makes sense. If you sing one thing this way right now, catch it while it's fresh,
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a matter of like, in Pro Tools, we're often like playlisting where we're, somebody sings something, and it's great, and you want another take. It kind of goes underneath the previous take in this sort of like stack of history, sort of a historical stack, and then you can shuffle through all those stacks. And that's kind of how you start putting together the pieces of a comp. In Ozzy's case, that stack was twofold. So it was like two tracks paired together. So each time we'd, do a new take, it would be two new vocals. And so the doubles were tied together. So even if we went back like 5 takes to hear something, it would be 2 tracks 5 takes ago, so that, they match up. And the 2 tracks of his acted as a single performance. They're kind of married together.
Interesting.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Was that his recommendation to do that, or was that something that?
If I remember correctly, that was like, yeah, this is how I'm used to doing it. You give me double right away. Like, sure.
That's funny.
And then I look at Rick and be like, hey, I need a second. I got to make another couple tracks. I'm gonna make a group and do this. Okay, yeah, do your thing.
That's
all right,
funny.
we ready? Let's go.
That's pretty good.
It's kind of like always in the studio, like just thinking on your toes, as fast as possible, trying not to screw up. And yeah,
that's funny.
It's a lot of things. I come home and depending on the day, once you get into overdubs, things kind of like your stress level can, I'll often say like, I've just been on like red alert for 16 hours, everything went great, but it's like, you're just like, who needs what? What am I hearing? You need this? Okay. Can you run out there and switch the headphones up? Okay. I'm hearing, you need more of this in your headphones. Okay. Let me dial this in. It's like a long period of time usually of just like, you want everything to be smooth. You want everybody to be happy. And that's the gig, but sometimes you come home and it's like,
yeah.
Wow.
That's funny.
Usually it's for all that heightened awareness, it all goes really well and smoothly, but you're still like just brimming with like adrenaline and
No, for sure. When Ozzy was singing, would he do like a 20-minute section, take a break, 20 minutes, take a break, or would he go for a few hours straight?
I feel like maybe an hour or two or something like that, or maybe like working on a song for an hour and maybe like a half hour of intense going at it. It's at his pace, it always is with any singer, just kind of like, yeah, take a break. It might even just be 30-second 2-minute break, like, all right, let's get at it again. And
did you guys do a lot of takes with them?
I don't think so, not that I remember. Like I say, it was sort of, I keep everything rolling, like recording every take, and I'm making as many of those playlists, like I mentioned, as needed to keep absolutely everything. But I don't remember it being tons and tons of takes. And again, it was a little bit different in that they weren't through takes. It was like building these doubles as we went along. And I don't know for sure. If I had to guess, there's maybe like, 4 or 5 different doubled versions,
That's cool.
In completion with lots of other little bits and pieces that maybe, because sometimes you get stuck on a line that creates a lot of hassle, or you're trying out different ways to fit in the syllables. And so maybe on that one line, you've got like, 20 playlists of options, and the most recent 3 are the winners, But if I had to kind of guess, remember maybe like 4 or 5 full, like these are the meat and potatoes, and then we got some stragglers.
With him, would you guys have to use like a lot of autotune? I mean, I'm assuming since he was a bit older, his voice is not as powerful as it used to be. Did you guys have to do like a lot of correcting afterwards, or was he more or less like what you hear on the record is kind of what he was doing in the studio?
That I don't remember either, but like I don't remember him being particularly off in any way. I definitely, as part of my typical workflow for, most projects, I'm in Melodyne on some stuff. I don't remember his, level of need in that area. Everybody, myself included, tends to have some. And my approach to that is always as light as can be, to maintain, the actual performance. So yeah, I don't remember. I know what you're saying, mm-hmm. but I don't remember it being like, a particularly dire situation where like, oh damn, you can't really do it anymore. My feeling, my takeaway from recollection is like, that's Ozzy, and he's fucking doing that Ozzy thing. Yeah, and it sounds awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's kind of my recollection. It wasn't like, oh wow, this is a
train wreck.
No, not like that at all.
That's
it was
cool.
It was again just kind of like, damn, there's that voice and it's doing that thing and it's right there.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So was there anything unique about his approach to recording vocals? Like, did he do anything that kind of stuck out to you?
Not at all. No, it seemed like easy and relaxed, just normal, honestly, just like normal dude, like not high maintenance, not, dramatic, not chatty, just,
He wasn't chatty, really. Interesting.
No, I mean, like not in like a out of control way,
Okay.
just like, all right, those are lyrics. Okay, let me see, let's give just very like, let's do this.
Yeah. Did you ever not understand what he was saying?
Pardon?
That's funny. Did you ever not understand what he was saying?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. But and then you also kind of, can rewind in your mind and be like, did he just say I think he did just say that, and like, obviously I was late to the game and kind of came in to fill in for, several days or a week or something like that. So I think for me, especially, certainly the other, band members and Rick, I think may have followed along a little easier than me.
That's funny. Did
You
they know that this was going to be the last Sabbath record?
I don't think so. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, I think it was always an amazing feat, just knowing that they're doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
So I certainly never heard any mention of like knowing that during. You know what I mean?
No, that's fair enough, man. What was the funniest thing you remember from Ozzy?
Just a sense of humor. And I don't remember any like specific jokes, but I remember that's kind of what surprised me the most,